our world look like without time? Absolute chaos, right? It would be almost impossible for us to function as a society, certainly in the way that we do today. Luckily for me, Hungry Minds have sent me this book, which is called The Book, and is basically a guide to restarting civilization should the world end. And don't worry, timepieces are covered. But how long exactly have we been using clocks to measure time? The first mechanical clocks are actually thought to have been the clock towers in northern Italy and southern Germany from the late 13th century. These clock towers didn't have clock faces in the same way as we know them today, but instead they announced the time by the sounding of bells. However, the invention of the earliest way of telling time, at least that we know of and have historical evidence of, is often attributed to the ancient Egyptians. For this, they used water clocks and sundials. The earliest sundials were often made using sticks, and instead of measuring the time by seeing where the shadow of the stick fell on the ground, they measured time by looking at the length of the stick's shadow. Water clocks are actually discussed in the book, and you can see them at the bottom of this page here if you wanted to have a go at making one yourself. But they worked by a vessel being filled with water that flowed out at a constant rate. On the inside of the vessel, there would be markings representing increments of time, so that you could look and see what level the water was compared to those markings on the inside. Nonetheless, the very earliest methods of keeping time have probably been lost to history without a trace. For example, the tracking of the sun and stars across the sky, and also just the use of sticks stuck in the ground as sundials. Although the oldest surviving water clock is ancient Egyptian, we don't actually know where or when they were invented. According to Chinese tradition, they were actually invented in China in the 3rd millennium BC, which puts them back even earlier than we thought. The book provides you with guidance for not only creating a water clock, but also a mechanical clock. So if the world ends and you need a way of measuring time, don't worry, it's got you covered. It also has another page dedicated specifically to alarm clocks. So if your particular problem is getting up in the morning like me, then don't worry, that is also covered.